Welcome back to another death exploration video. Today I have 9 different ways that you can be crushed to death. I will explain what would happen to your body, how it might feel, and how long it can take to finally die. This definitely contains graphic depictions of death, so it's important to know that my content may be upsetting to some. Viewer discretion advised. The really bad news is that if you ever find yourself in this situation, you have a 70% chance of never coming out alive. You can become trapped and at the mercy of the grain in just a few seconds. Within only 25, you can become completely in over your head. In that instant, you won't just be drowning in kernels, but an all-consuming impending sense of doom as well. When you exhale for the first time, the tough grain will cave in against your chest, preventing your lungs from ever fully expanding again. The official countdown to death has begun and your carbon dioxide levels are on the rise. What's even worse is toxic gases like nitrogen oxides could be flooding into your body if you're anywhere near spoiled grain. We cannot forget that you have about 900 pounds of weight putting pressure on your joints, muscles, and nerves. All that you desperately want is to move even an inch, but your limbs, back, and neck are frozen in agony. You feel a tsunami of a full-body Charlie horse ripple from the crown of your head to your toes. This feels like an ancient torture method, and you wonder if it's possible for your tissue to just solidify and rot. You also wonder if this is at all how the man who died in the Nutty Putty cave felt. Next comes an insane pinching sensation felt just below your flesh everywhere. Also, your throat is really starting to sear. Your eyes burn to high heaven and water uncontrollably, all while you reside in a constant state of panic. Just before your system gives out, the crushing, entombing pain will escalate. Your head will be blanketed with haze and will begin to pulsate and pound. Your brain is slowly being starved of oxygen. There have been miraculous cases where people have survived for 3 hours, but many die in a matter of minutes, typically by asphyxiation. When hit by a speeding train traveling between 70 and 90 miles per hour, death will likely happen on impact. However, these types of trains are the minority and most travel between 15 and 50 miles per hour. A staggering percentage of victims survive initial impact only to die after with insufferable injuries. When hit, many things are going to happen in very quick succession. For one thing, your actual flesh and even muscle can be completely ripped off of bone. This is called a degloving injury and can happen anywhere on the body. You will sustain many fractures, including comminuted fractures where the bone shatters and complete compound fractures, where the bone breaks completely and may pierce through flesh, creating open wounds. If the train wheel makes direct contact with any part of your body, it will sever. You will likely sustain amputation of fingers or hands, toes or feet, legs and or arms. There will be deep lacerations that may penetrate all layers of skin or even soft tissue, and these cuts will generate so much heat from the fast-moving metal. There will certainly be some level of head trauma. This can lead to brain hemorrhage, brain damage, or in rare occasions, brain or brainstem rupture. Here's the kicker. A train is so heavy that amputations, especially caused by the wheel, have so much pressure applied that it can slow blood flow and nearly seal it shut. This prolongs life, but usually doesn't save it. This is one of the many reasons why victims can remain conscious after impact, but it's often filled with profound pain. It couples rotational force with a very sharp stationary cutting tool. Operation requires extensive safety training because these machines can basically turn you inside out in very short moments. These move so quickly that once you're pulled in, there's no stopping the machine from having its way with you. It can spin at 3,000 revolutions per minute, so even after it's shut down, it will continue to spin for a while. Many deaths occur from people's clothing getting caught in the rotating parts. There's simply no time to properly react. Yes, you will eventually be sliced up, and the swift rotations will generate substantial heat when it does. This takes ordinary lacerations and kicks them up a notch, often feeling like your fresh oozing wounds are being packed with molten metal. Long before that even happens, you'll be contending with a misery that you've never known before. This machine in operation creates something known as pinch points, and the forces at work can effortlessly turn even your strongest bones to fine weathered glass. Pinch points happen anytime that machine parts rotate, moving towards one another. Any body part between those points can face destruction similar to a hydraulic press. Your soft tissue can be flattened, and your innards can explode out of your orifices and wounds like a can of chunky tomato soup bursting from the pressure. Keep in mind that none of this will happen in slow motion. It will be too fast for even witnesses to comprehend the trauma. By the time you make it to the cutting tool, your brain will likely be a crunchy puree complete with jagged skull fragments, and you will already be dead. It's still possible that it will turn your body into ribbons and rivers of DNA. It's a fact that this is one of the most panic-inducing deaths that you can experience. There's the obvious reason, but also after oxygen is cut off, the CO2 in your blood builds up, which induces a severe impending sense of doom. That's not even the half of it. As your vision is skewed by shovel after shovel of dirt, the weight of it will cause every joint and muscle to ache. You are stuck, so suddenly you experience a nagging desire to move. The dirt weighs 75 to 110 pounds per cubic foot, 6 feet underground, and that dirt will come with a massive crushing force. As the weight builds and builds with more shovelfuls, the ache will crescendo to an electric, all-consuming crushing over every inch. Expanding your lungs is out of the question because, quite literally, the weight of an elephant is bearing down on your chest and abdomen. Not that it matters because there is no air to breathe. Dirt is shoved up your nostrils and fills your ears. It's contaminating your eyelashes, and very soon it will fill your mouth. About 87 seconds into your cutoff from oxygen, your brain will trigger an involuntary breath. It can't be stopped. You will gulp up and aspirate the acrid rust-flavored dirt. It will feel like someone shot a flamethrower down your gullet. The absolute panic will smash through any haze. You will be 100% aware of the fact that you are suffocating. By now, your rib bones are buckling under the weight, likely piercing your lungs. Finally, after 2 to 3 minutes, you slide out of this hell into unconsciousness. At first, it might feel like a day at the spa. The cool sand, gravel, and cement will feel mushy, heavy, and maybe even exfoliating. Once it reaches your face, an explosion of panic will surge from your adrenal glands. You'll clench your mouth and eyes shut, but your desperation to breathe will usher it into your nostrils, plugging them. Suffocation has begun. Of course, you don't even need your face to be encased in order to die. Soon, you will experience a strange warming sensation as if you're covered in heat patches activating. Only the temperature continues to rise, giving way to the feeling of an invisible fire devouring every inch. Concrete is caustic and will provoke gnarly, skin-splitting, spitting chemical burns. Normally, it takes hours for them to develop, but prolonged exposure will speed it up. What's worse is the substance literally heats up as it cures and draws all moisture out of your skin. Ever feel a hot iron clench down on your flesh until it looks and feels like crispy chicken skin? Once it begins to harden around your chest, your mouth will run dry and your head will feel like it's inflating with hot air as the panic levels up. It's turned into a medieval torture device because your lungs can no longer expand. That means that breathing will be no more. An impending sense of doom will drown out the intense searing because you feel yourself approaching death's door. There's an acrid taste in your mouth and your tongue feels like a crusty, swollen sponge. Death is imminent, whether your mouth is covered or not. Metal shredders are basically human delete buttons. When people fall into them, it can take months to lift DNA from the microscopic pieces of flesh, bone, and brain tissue. Since their inception in the early 1900s, they stand with an undefeated record against humans. They typically function with 4 or more rotating shafts, each outfitted with hundreds to thousands of bone-sharp cutters. They rotate in different directions, so they will pull you in between where they will simultaneously chop and crush you. They can rotate up to 1,400 revolutions per minute, which leaves you no time to save yourself. If you fall in head first, you will instinctually stretch out your arms to brace your fall, leaving the machine to bite down on your fingers like the jaws of life. Your bones will splinter and snap, and your blood vessels will turn into a spraying puree of chunky soup. They will vanish before your very eyes, and behind the scenes, they will be flattened and turned to human jelly. Next, your hair will be eaten. It will also likely wrap around the sharp notches, which will tug your head closer and closer as it rotates, all while ripping off large chunks of scalp at a time. This will certainly cause a shockwave of raw hot burning as if your head was dragged along gravel at 150 miles per hour. No time to dwell though, because your skull, face, and brain are beginning their short journey into death. The machine's crushing force will turn the sturdy bone into mere glass, shattering it like a weathered wine glass dropped from a skyscraper. If you must imagine the sensation, imagine your head submerged in boiling water with a toaster and live piranhas. The fangs of a million vampires are penetrating every inch, all while your innards are being pancaked like a rolling pin on a tube of toothpaste. You might even catch the beginning sound of your bones crunching before your brainstem is destroyed. Everything that I've just described would transpire in about 3 to 5 seconds, and then it would be lights out. It's a rare occurrence, but it does happen. Some instances are tragic accidents and others not so much. These intimidating devices can carry a crushing force up to 25 tons. If you find yourself beneath one, expect to feel about 2,500 pounds per inch of pressure pressing down on your everything. There's nothing inside of our miraculous bodies that one of these hell presses cannot completely undo. The human head's exterior is made up of 22 bones that offer structure and protection. On top is a scalp with 5 layers of tissue ranging from flesh to connective tissue. Its core is mostly various degrees of soft soft, gooey, and squishy. Let's not forget about the different orifices like the ears, nose, and mouth because they're about to have their 5 minutes of fame. As the metal slide presses down on your head, all of those megapounds of pressure exerted will begin to feel as if you have a ticking time bomb lodged inside of your noggin, and you kinda do. As the pressure slowly builds and builds, your pumping blood will find it difficult to circulate and all of your tissue will feel the figurative walls closing in. It will not even be a second before your 22 protective bones turns to find china crumbling and shattering into thousands of shards. Your surface capillaries have long been exploded and your shallow cells are withering and dying, but that slide is still coming down and no, you're not dead yet. Your head will likely be on its side, which means your eardrums will feel the assault from the suction of the plate and pressure. They too have ruptured, which makes sense because soon your ear canal will fill with something else, and death is around the corner. Finally, this press from hell pushes down into your head's guts, your brain. It's absolutely being pureed like a can of sticky, chunky soup. This is not compatible with life because that sticky, chunky puree is now oozing out of your orifices like a heavily squeezed tube of toothpaste. As long as an escalator's up to code and operating smoothly, you don't have to worry about your whole body being slurped up like a slushie, but you're not out of the woods yet. An escalator is a high-powered machine designed to carry up to 33,000 pounds. When on, some parts are constantly moving, sometimes in different directions, and some are stationary. This creates a suction-like effect in certain areas. One of these areas is between the outside of the step and wall. If you get too close, it can suck in part of your shoe. Since your foot is not made of all liquid, it can shatter your bones in a blink. You might not feel the catastrophe right away, but in moments there will be an electrical pulsating explosion erupting from your mangled toes. Tragically, there have been incidents where an escalator buckles, revealing a gaping hole that can swallow you up like a megalodon shark. Internally, there are wheels, gears, support parts, and of course the bottom of each step. In a very unfortunate way, it's almost like falling into a garbage disposal. There are parts where limbs, clothing, and hair can get stuck, resulting in scalping and amputations. There are parts that can peel off pieces of your flesh, resulting in degloving. And of course, there are parts that can crush you, resulting in perforated organs, severed vessels, and shattered bones. It's really just a crapshoot on how long you'd survive to endure the torment, and it will unleash a full gambit of sensations, including possibly the intense urge to go number 2. This can arise when certain organs perforate. One man made it from the top all the way to the bottom before the machine was stopped, and he was still alive in critical condition. The two biggest causes of death are traumatic brain injury or blood loss. One can happen in moments and the other can take several minutes or more. One of these trucks doesn't just pour concrete, but it makes it too. Inside of the jumbo rotating drum are sharp spiraling blades outfitted on the interior walls. Inside, water is added to dry material like sand, gravel, and hydraulic cement, where it's continuously spun around silly to mix it and maintain the right and ready consistency. Upon falling in, you'll be met with several circles of hell, literally. Most models rotate about 15 full revolutions per minute, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that you'll be violently thrown around like a rag doll, impacting the blades about 45 to 60 times per minute. When you combine the force of deceleration, meaning sudden stopped movement, with the sharpness of the blades, you'll certainly succumb to deep lacerations that penetrate to bone or even beyond. Especially fragile bones in the body are vulnerable, which means you might part with fingers or toes or perhaps a hand or foot. Shock and catecholamines will help soften the pain, but you will still feel an electric-like explosion that ripples through nerves even inches away. Plus, not to mention the blight utter burning that will crescendo into a chorus of acid eating up your soft tissue, and that's just from the cuts. Even the blunt force trauma of repeated impacts will add additional misery. You will suffer many fractures, and then those fractures will fracture. You'll sustain head trauma, you'll dislocate joints. You might rupture your spleen or liver, and could even give in to internal decapitation, but that's still not all. You are being tossed around with gritty rough gravel, sand, and water. You are basically being waterboarded, especially with each smack. We also can't forget that concrete is caustic, and though chemical burns takes time to develop, it will still sear like a grill grate and salt inside of all open wounds. In short, this is a torturous end that could be over in seconds with one hard hit to the neck or noggin, or could stretch on for several minutes.